You're listening to Polymatic.media, episode 52, for December 16th, 2018. Welcome to the Polymaticast. Do I really need to read all this stuff? Our topic, the rise and fall of social media. Boom, boom, boom. And all of these links can be found at polymatic.link, show 52. Hey, John, how's it going?
Pretty good. What about you?
I don't know. Things are changing around here, man. It's been like a month. Oh, end of the year rush for everything is crazy. I don't know. I always hear myself say busy. I was doing the hangout with Orla, I think last week, the bunch of us, and she's like, "Hey, Ellen, how you doing?" And I'm like, busy. I say that so much, man, and without going into detail, it's so very hard to explain why I'm always busy. But it's not just a thing I say; it's a thing that I am. So, yeah, just kind of busy, and I can't say like I feel like 150% of it is all productive. The Switch was jammed in there somewhere, right? Because I bought a Switch. I have a Switch now.
Finally, he's bought a Switch.
However, my discipline is pretty strong because I didn't let it intercede my week that much. I did a little bit last weekend, and then the guys are like, "We're playing Artemis tonight," and I'm like, oh, "Okay, fine." So I couldn't be sitting there playing something all night on Saturday. Not to mention my roommate was present, and I kind of like playing the Switch with a TV, a larger format than that small screen. I haven't really done full burn-in yet. I have 4 games, so I've been sort of playing a little of each.
Have you been playing Zelda on the Switch?
So I bought Zelda. I played it a little bit. I got my butt kicked by one of those mushroom things, zombie things. Eventually, you have branches, and then I found the branches because I was exploring, and I took out one of those troll things, and then I just moved along. I didn't sort of walk over the area to see that if it dropped clubs or something. I just didn't. I wasn't that smart. And I really kind of didn't think about it. And then I lurked around, and I went to the spot it told me to, and there was nothing there. I don't know what I was missing. So I lurked around some more, and then I got chased by, 4 of those troll things, and then a couple of them finally took me out. Oh, and then the second try, is I found one of those angel guardians that, laser-eyed me to death. And that was it. I'm like, okay, so with the lesson I need to learn is I need to explore around. If
you didn't go play in Master Mode, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Because Master Mode takes a lot more, it's a lot harder.
Right. So I think what I need to do is I just need to get a better sense of what I'm doing and where I'm going, and find the branches again, and hopefully strategically take out one of those troll things very quickly, and then hopefully I get some extra better weapons, and then I know at least where some of the other those things are, and then sort of get some more weapons, I hope.
The thing tells you to go to like a place, and it's like inside of a little cave thingy. You go in and then you activate something. Okay. And that starts like the big part. So you should probably do that because you haven't played like 0.0000001% of the game.
Well, when you wake up and you go through the gate and whatever it is, and you're in the cave, and then you pick up the book. I did that. I did all that.
No, but as soon as you meet the old guy tells you to go somewhere, right? Anyway, let's not discuss this right now because it's like how to play through this thing. But
so anyhow, I need to do more burn-in on that. Otherwise, it's been sort of distracting when I play, which is in total has been less than 8 hours over 2 weeks.
Okay. Well, that's a good purchase.
Katamari, Bomb Chicken, and Bomberman. I've been spending a little more time on Bomberman. I like Bomberman. I always like Bomberman. So anyhow, that's
not my kind of thing, but
yeah. But anyhow, that's kind of what I've been burning my time in on the Switch. So
did you get Minecraft on it?
I did not. And if I'm looking for that kind of thing, I keep hearing from people that I probably should get Dragon Builder. So,
Minecraft's pretty good on it. I really like it. It puts it into like its own little space where I can just leave it if I'm not playing it. I've played Celeste. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Crawl might be fun to play with people if you have other people around. It's like a dungeon crawler with like lots of people. You can play with like the one of the Switch per person.
Mm-hmm.
Don't Starve is pretty good, and Enter the Gungeon. I've had that one, and I recently downloaded Warframe, which is kind of like an MMO.
Okay.
So it's also on PC, but it doesn't connect to the PC world, so it's kind of annoying.
Yeah, I think my big thing is I need to have the burn-in time. I think New Year's. Actually, our New Year's thing is kind of like the first weekend of the year instead of, the weekend prior to the beginning of the year. So regardless of that.
Get some days off. You can play some games.
So I suspect whether my Switch is actually being used for me playing Smash Brothers. I'm sure that is going to be the dominant argument for everyone with the Switch.
I'm going to be getting that game too.
I'm just saying is like come New Year's, like whether my Switch is going to be playing Smash Brothers, whether I am is a totally different story.
How many controllers did you get?
So here's the thing. I now made it really easy for anyone who wants to gift me stuff to gift me something that they understand and have some opinion about what they should give me in terms of Switch stuff. So I already spent a bunch of money to buy the thing, and then I bought like 4 games, which is right there. I mean, that right there just pierces $100 right there, or gets to $100 very quickly. And then I was like, okay, no more buying accessories or anything. And
you
that
can
is
get
exactly what I did.
like game codes like for some not in-game currency, but like the currency for the shop, so you can get some money from that.
Well,
you can get people to give you that, and then
the eShop stuff. Yeah. So anyhow, I put a bunch of stuff on the Amazon list, and we'll see what happens in a few weeks. And then, if no one gets me whatever, then maybe I will buy those red Joy-Cons. Whatever. So we'll see.
I made the mistake of buying the gray Nintendo Switch.
See,
they have the normal one with the blue and the red.
See, I don't like the blue and the red. I bought the gray. I want same color. I didn't want to. I don't know what the deal was with the blue and the red.
What I could have done is gotten the blue and the red, and then bought the all other kit. Like you can buy an extra pair of Joy-Cons, but they are like flipped, so you have the red Joy-Con is on the right, then is on the left, and on the pre-purchase, like the package deal, you get the red on the right. So then you can have a red Switch, you can have a blue Switch, and you can have like controllers that are like
I didn't
colors.
know that they had an inverted version of that. I've seen the red and the yellow. Anyway, we're talking about Switch a lot. So yeah, I bought a Switch. John is trying to feed me the addiction tips, and now lots of people for New Year's can gift me.
Did you get any amiibos?
I did not. I'm not sure that I'm ever going to get any amiibos. I just want to play some games.
Doesn't Bryce have amiibos and stuff?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah,
him and Jefferson
you borrow some
got a
of him.
collection.
Should ask him to take some of them to your house. You can use them in Zelda. You can get some items in Zelda with the amiibos. You can just keep using them every day. It's pretty cool.
Well, stuff that I am very unaware of. But anyhow, so hello, John. How are you?
Oh man, it's been busy. I've been busy, really busy, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't maybe it's not just you and I saying that. I think it's a cultural thing now.
I think right now it's because there's a project that I'm working on that's really busy, so I need to finish that project. I want to finish that project really quickly, but it's like it takes a long time because there's so many different components to it. So it's like it's just too much work.
Yeah, and that same problem with the unnamed title project. I'm letting other things kind of act as my infill for a lot of these things, and I wanted to do something big with it, and I started that process, and I got something that's blocking me because I don't understand something yet. So I'm thinking I'm going to step back a little bit and then go forward from where I last was, because I made backups. So these things take a lot of little steps to conclude.
Good thing though, in the weekends and in the evenings, I've been working on. I also run an artist community, and I've been working on making a new version of that, which was it was kind of getting old, so it needed a new version.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically the same thing I'm doing. I did the shortener, where I made a new version, and that's a lot easier to roll out new versions of. That needs a lot of work, so but it's been trucking along, and with the thing that happened to Tumblr in the recent weeks, that kind of accelerated some stuff. So it's
people looking for a place to.
Oh yeah, definitely.
To dump their stuff.
Well, not dump. It's more like a lot of people need like a place to post their art, and it doesn't mean like they're doing like naughty stuff. It's just a lot of people need, because Tumblr has been blocking everybody. It doesn't matter what kind of content you upload. If it's a picture, it's probably flagged. That's kind of their issue right now. And they've been trying to rely on their AI and stuff, but it doesn't seem to be that good. They seem to flag everything. Everything is unsafe. Everything is bad. Bad. Very bad.
Is it bad?
I think it's really bad.
Oh, okay.
So they decided to, starting December 17th, not allow adult content on their platform anymore. Of course, that is their own decision. That's their own right. I think that they made a big mistake, but they don't really know their platform really well, it seems. But then again, it is like Tumblr got inherited by Yahoo and Verizon.
Right.
So they're like
AOL merger and all that junk. It's Oath now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like they first of all, they did the GDPR thing, so none of the websites work anymore, because everything just shows that banner like you have to agree to the terms and you have to click through 5,000 items, and otherwise you cannot be here. Yeah. So they nuked their own platform, and it's kind of like a thing that's been happening. I'm happy that people have found a way around it to place to other places. So a lot of people have been moving to Twitter. Some of people have been moving to Mastodon.
Mm-hmm.
That's been actually pretty big. Although there's been voices of people like, we don't really like Mastodon because the discoverability is really hard. And it's kind of like the thing that's been happening in many platforms. Not just Tumblr and not just Mastodon. It's just Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Discoverability, finding new people, is very hard.
I get that, and that hurts. I wouldn't call it organic, but that hurts forced growth. But in the same respect, they're supposed to be social. So I never seeked like a social pattern with like podcasts and people. People want to follow me, fantastic. So what does that mean? There's like 50 people that follow me around everywhere. And that's the extent of it. And that's not Alan's 49 other Twitter accounts or anything like that.
You sure about that?
Yeah. There are a couple cases when I start, I have my other accounts followed so that, depending on where I'm at, I can kind of retweet very easily. But it's not to bolster numbers, right? When I started on Twitter, I had like a couple thousand, 3,000 people following me, and I looked at them and I'm like, none of these people are real. Or if they're real, they're just like, and people are like getting their egos on. Look at how many people. I got 100,000 people. And I'm like, yeah, but none of these people are real. 100 of them are your bots. Like, and so, like, I care about, like, the actual connection. Like, I get these systems are forcing me, Facebook, be social. There's someone coming on a thing that you should know about. Like, I don't care. Stop trying to force me to be social with people I don't care about. I don't know these people. I don't want you to set up a virtual relationship. Like, I don't care. If I want to be social with them, I'll interact with them directly. So what does that mean? That means Alan's circle is really tiny. And I go out of my way occasionally to look at like, okay, this person hasn't posted anything in like 2 years. Disconnect. And if I see them in person, they go, "Would you not unfollow me?" I go, "'Cause you never post anything. You never do anything of interest. Why am I watching you? Why are we having a conversation on a system where none of us are talking to each other? We're just following each other." And I don't need a system through forced growth. You call it discovery, but forced growth to like force me to follow 900,000 other people so that 3,000 of them might follow me back.
Well, there's a difference, right? So you have your ego boost thing that you're concerned about.
Yeah.
But I think it's more about people that do post, right? So there's lots of artists that I follow, lots of people that are related to content creation and stuff, and finding new people that produce new stuff, interesting stuff. Like say for example, Cody's Lab, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say Cody's Lab would come out now, and he would have like 0 followers. He has like 1 point something million people following on YouTube, right? But finding those people, the interesting people, on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, or Tumblr, for the few more seconds that it's alive, it's very hard. And there's a difference between trying to find the interesting people that you want to communicate with and want to learn what they're doing and stuff, and then there's the people who just want to spread their I have friends, but I don't have friends.
Right.
So I think those two are different, right?
Yeah.
So if you have somebody like Hank Green, who is pretty funny on Twitter, then you follow him because he's funny. I don't follow him, and he gets a lot of followers because there's lots of stuff in there. Lots of people follow him for that reason. Mm-hmm. But
there's also, they follow him because he's considered to be famous, and famous people are just inherently followed because people on the other end are going, I need to judge whether I think they're famous or not, and I have to look at every tweet to think whether they're famous or not, so I can have an opinion. And they're not really following Hank for Hank. They're following Hank to be judgmental. And I am positive there's a ton of that happens with a lot of these big celeb accounts.
Let me swap this around. How do you find new people?
Well,
how do you find things that you find interesting? That
it's a good question, and I ask this all the time, and people go, well, how do you know about them and this person and that person? I said, I don't know. I watch videos, and then they sometimes when they collab or they service in other people's videos, I check out that person, and it's not a judgmental thing. I evaluate whether I want to follow them, and I just kind of stay on top of it a little bit. Now, Twitter, I don't do this. YouTube, I do this because YouTube is supplemented quite a bit of my sort of TV watching, and so let me pick an example. So, and I'm going by YouTube, for example, right? So I've been on YouTube since its very early days, its first year. A few months after it existed, heard about it. I don't know. I was looking at blogs and stuff. I was taking interest in blogs that were putting out audio and video and clips. And then I heard about this YouTube thing because I heard about Vimeo. And Vimeo was kind of our first thing. YouTube came along, blah, 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 history. Okay. So somewhere along there was this guy, Mike Falzone, and he just put out this video. And, he got me on a sort of a bait click title. And the judgmental side was like, oh, well, let's see if his song is really good. Because I was curious about musicians and people who are not just playing covers, but like playing original songs on YouTube. And I found this guy, Mike Falzone, and it was good. And then he had a couple other videos that were pretty good. And I had a sense of who he was. Okay, fantastic. So I followed him. And over time, just that one subscription, I would check my inbox, and there he was every once in a while. And he was making original songs, he was doing covers, he was doing mashup covers, he was doing something that was unique. It wasn't just like playing another Coldplay song. Independently of that, I saw some comment. I was searching through comments and I saw someone did something interesting. And then there was this other girl. She was going by Mika Kitty. She now goes by Tessa Violet. Okay. And she was, I could see the editing was really good. So I took interest in that because she was making nothing into something. But at the very beginning of that, in her sort of late teenage years, she was a model. And by that, she wanted to be a model. She became a model, and she was traveling internationally. Not like, I'm in Paris every week. Like, not like supermodel international travel. Like, just was a teenage girl who took an interest in modeling, did full on it, and she would travel through Asia being a model, and then she'd come home back to New York City. And she was a pretty good editor. And so something that she was doing was a point in perspective that I couldn't ever have. And she was doing something interesting. It was neat. Okay, cool. And then, I don't know, she was sort of, just sort of treading water in terms of being a vlogger. And then she started getting into music a little bit. Okay. And then at like Playlist Live or something, she met Mike Falzone. And then she got more into music. She started meeting other like YouTube musicians. And Mike Falzone wasn't anything big. He's just a person I followed. So now all of a sudden, I have two people that I'm following who are now friends in real life. Huh. Okay. And then Mike Falzone has his friend, Megan Tonjes. Right? And then Megan Tonjes somehow moves to LA and she becomes friends with someone who works for Philip DeFranco. And so now she's good friends with Philip DeFranco, who's another person I was following before he was like Insta famous. And okay, and then all of a sudden then Mike, because of Megan, he moves to LA, and all of a sudden now he's on SourceFed of Philip DeFranco thing. And again, through all these little relationships with these people who are not humongous people who are starting to the world was starting to collide. Okay. Now, wiping the slate on that whole relationship there is somehow organically their lives were colliding and my inbox was colliding. And that is kind of how I discovered people through people through people. And then there are some of the forced collab things, which are healthy, I think, where Dodie Clark, no one knew who she was showed up on Tessa's thing. And so I got to know who Dodie was, but I didn't really follow her. And then, independently through you, right, through friendships with other people, yeah, absolutely I discover. Or someone says, hey, Alan, you like this hipster shit. You might like her. And so I like, and I'm like, oh, I really do like her. It turns out she's friends with Dodie. Oh, by the way, okay, here's another weird thing. Way back in the machine here of YouTube. There was this guy, Sean Klitzner, beginning early of like podcast days for me. And the relationship there were just people doing random stuff on YouTube in those first few years. And this guy, Sean Klitzner, was doing that. And it was kind of funny. And I said, you know what, let's just have him on the show. And I was able to get a hold of the guy. And this is when the pond was incredibly small. And and I can't say that we have a real friendship. I still have his number, you know what I mean? Like, but we had him on a couple times. He was a good friend. And I was just following him, and I don't know what he was doing, but he was in London for some reason. And then there was this girl who was doing something that I thought was kind of funny in his video. So I went hunting down who she was. And she was going by her handle as Chewing Sand. Okay. She's also known as Hazel Hayes. Okay. So every once in a while she would do something funny, and she was doing her own interesting thing. And so I was just was coming into my inbox, and I was just kind of watching. I was taking an effort to look at my YouTube subscriptions. Alan. No, I'm not stalking anybody. I wasn't looking at anybody's like website or anything. I was just like, oh, that's cool. And then it turns out Hazel is Dodie's roommate. So my world started to collide. But a lot of good concentrated good stuff comes out of that. Sometimes the machine is forcing me, and that's good. So I went on this whole rant, but sometimes when the machine forces me, sometimes when the algorithm right, forces me to see something, I'll take an interest. But I don't click on everything just for the sake of it. And I often don't listen to people who are trying to push agendas on me. I don't. You know what I mean? Like, Dragon Ball Z is not the greatest thing. And I don't care what your freaking fandom is, nor is Naruto, nor is Attack on Titan. And just because you're yelling at me that it's great and it's amazing and I'm stupid for not loving it like you do, doesn't mean anything to me.
But like, Alan, you did buy a Switch.
I did, but I also bought it because I knew that something like Bomberman and Katamari were going to be there. And these are totally the kind of games I like to play.
Dude, you're totally a sellout. You're like, you're buying this Switch because you're a sellout.
No, but the other thing that I thought, and I think this is really crucial, is that I know these things need accessories. And I make it really difficult for people who don't like live in my through my year circle or talk to me every couple of weeks or whatever it is. When it comes to like New Year's, they're gifting me stuff and like, well, you know what? This is a perfect opportunity for things people can gift me. Because this thing, you know, the eShop cards, the Joy-Con charger stands, you know, all kinds of little things. And I'm sure
don't buy a don't use any of the off-brand docking stations. They tend to fry switches.
Yeah, apparently. So my point was regarding all this. If I was a sellout, I would have bought the Switch when it came out, like the rest of you did.
It was a joke.
I know.
I didn't buy it when it came out. I bought it like at Christmas, the year out, like the year 2017. At the end of 2017, I bought it.
Yeah. So I mean, I hold off. I'm not in a rush to be a part of the crowd. But with that point is that sometimes my discovery is a combination of just my own weird habits. Organically, I just happen to know about stuff. And sometimes it's through my own discovery. Sometimes it's through those collabs. And sometimes it's through an algorithm pushing on me.
Yeah. So let's rewind this a little bit to the actual Twitters and the Facebooks and whatever. When you look at something like Facebook, to get something out there to other people, to discover new things, right? The only way to do that is to pay, right? Same thing with Twitter right now, because although there are still some people that retweet funny stuff, right? So if you want to find somebody who's funny, you follow some funny people, then eventually you find like the Swift on securities and stuff like that. But then again, the same thing. You can buy like attention if you want to. For people that draw, like they post art and stuff, for them to get their stuff out there, it's very hard. They either don't have money, which is a lot of them, or they don't have a home base for them to post their stuff. And with this whole Tumblr thing going on, everybody moving over to Mastodon and to Twitter and stuff, they find that the thing that Tumblr did, which is something that was actually pretty good, is that whole reblog thing. Like they were able to make whole stories and things with a post. So you made a post about something, and then somebody could reply to that like as like a thread. But the thread was the entire blog post. So you had people commenting on things, and then they could reblog that, and then like add more stuff to it, and that eventually became content on its own. And that's something that none of the other platforms do.
No, because
this is why I think that the whole thing that Tumblr, what happened there is that they're going to end because 90% of their people are going to be gone.
Yeah,
there were videos. People made a very good meme about the Titanic and the people like the movie, and then at some point they played the violin and stuff, and then the ship goes down. It was a very good meme. I think I'm gonna see if I can find and link it in the show notes. But it's
so for social media, there really are kind of two models. There is a point-to-point model, which is more like a chat model. There is a hub and spoke model. Okay, maybe there's a third model. Then there is a collection kind of model, where it's public versus private, right? So then you get your Discords, for example. They're not really social media, they're chat servers, but you can create channels, you can create focus groups. And these aren't like equates to bulletin boards. So, the origin of the threaded stuff didn't really survive. So Tumblr created a version of it when I was on Seismic. It was a video version of this, and this was threaded. And so
that's what you see with the TikTok right now, right?
Right. So you start a thing, and then your world stays in that world related to that relationship, and it can go external, and that's fine. But in the case of Twitter, it's hub and spoke, just like YouTube. It's hub and spoke. Look at me. I stand up on my soapbox. Now all of you throw tiny little pickles and a bunch of Bitcoins at me and make me famous, and then maybe I will give 100 free phones to you. Like, that's what YouTube has become, good and bad, for good and bad. And Twitter doesn't really support, it supports sort of a hub and spoke model by followers, but it doesn't really communalize.
Well, it doesn't share people's posts that other people might like. Although Twitter did do that for a while. I think they still do it. Like somebody liked something else, right? I think they stopped that because of privacy concerns.
Well, and it's also sort of this forced discovery thing on me, and they teach crap out of me. I'm the first to usually say, see this less often, stop this, disable.
I understand.
I do this
You're
to Facebook all the time, right?
I understand.
Yeah,
but some people that they likened Mastodon as like shouting into the void. Well, Twitter is like shouting into a cathedral filled with people to the brim. Like there's so many people here, you cannot stand out unless you do something really really stupid or something really big.
But that also shows you something about people. They're looking for attention, so they have to get a little sort of out of hand about it, and that shows you something that should speak literal volumes about the person and their intentions versus what they're just sharing.
Well, some people they do commissions, right? You want to get your stuff out there, right?
Right. So if you're an artist using it as a promotion tool,
a channel to send out your information, and your work, right? Some people can say, "Oh, that's really cool. I really like that World of Warcraft drawing you did."
And I totally
get that. Can you make one of my character?
If you are looking for it to be a promotional tool and you're very transparent about that, this is awesome. I'm full on board about it. It's the people doing stupid stuff for attention stuff. I'm like, okay, whatever. But that's my personal evaluation. That isn't like a forced discovery mechanism saying, hey, you like shouty people doing stupid stuff. Here's 100,000 more of them. Like, this is where these forced discovery tools fail.
But that's the same thing with like the YouTube thing. So a lot of if you go to the YouTube Discover page, like the home page, the homepage right now has for me a lot of normal videos, right? So stuff that I actually would probably be interested in. Yeah, and YouTube is pretty good at doing that for me. But when I go to the Discover page, like they have like a separate page for like, and they always switch it to local. The trending, I think.
It's trending,
They do it to local, and it's in the Netherlands. Crap. It's really bad.
But it shows you through the lens of what people love. No. Celebrating.
This is what the YouTube algorithm thinks that people love, but not really the case. It's like lots of trashy people from the Netherlands. I'm like, I am not interested in this.
Yeah, and I get that stuff too. So. My only kind of big takeaway from the thing that Twitter did really well is it showed everyone that you can have a public conversation publicly, and that's good and bad. But what it does is someone says, that time when, that thought when, that moment when, and they start a thread line, and they're seeking attention or something, and someone random comes in and goes, yeah, because they were searching on a keyword. And that's also where sort of the organized culture, right? We got our hashtags. Right? That is also sort of a benefit of that's an organized style of structure that we use throughout all social media. And so if you are looking to promote something, you can hashtag something. like pimples, and you can discover by tracking specifically the hashtag. And so there are some things that came out of Twitter culture that have added real benefit to all social media. Yeah. But I absolutely reject the assumption that social media has a responsibility to make me more social. I absolutely reject that philosophy. It's profitable for them, and it's not productive for me.
I think it's like for YouTube, for example, you use that as TV, right? It's like most people who use YouTube as TV. So it's fun to find new stuff out there, right? So YouTube has been doing a pretty okay job for finding new stuff for me. When I look at Tumblr, the Tumblr thing actually worked pretty well. They showed me new artists that I could follow. They showed me all sorts of stuff that I was interested in. And that worked. Now they're killing their whole system. Twitter doesn't do that. Twitter's recommendations for people to follow is like the worst. There's like
but also when you fill your pool up with a bunch of noise, you fill up a lot of noise, you fill up a lot of like stuff you don't want, it gets hard to provide better suggestions. So I don't think there's
I just think that Twitter's pretty bad at it.
Right. Okay.
Like, even though like my bubble of people that I follow on Twitter's pretty left leaning, they start producing people in that list who are like the total opposite. I'm like, okay, I'm not interested in these people. Right? Go away. And that's why I say, okay, I'm not interested. Go away. And the horrible Twitter app, the thing on Android is so bad. And I really like if they were to introduce some of that stuff that Tumblr did well, like the threading, like the way of like stacking tweets, for example. They could do that. They have a thread thing, but like you could go and take somebody's. You can quote tweet, right? So you can say, I can just copy not copy the tweet, but you can quote tweet and write something on top of it, right? So it's like the opposite side Tumblr does. If they were to be able to stack that and then like do it below it and just keep going, yeah, you could get some really good, nice conversations in there, because then you have context. Right now, you see somebody's tweet and say, "Oh, shout! Somebody did something wrong," and blah 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 blah, and then the original tweet's nowhere to be found anymore.
Right, and it's a cacophony of noise. But if you
which, considering the name of the company and the bird logo, kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So without focusing on discovery and the noise problems and all these things, look, you can make a good social media thing into something good. And I think there has a lot to do with the responsibility of these social networks. They're giving us something for free, and they're churning data analytics out of it to target for ads. They're really just all ad systems. I think Facebook has a lot of bad things about it. They've never been a trustworthy thing. I've never trusted them, despite everyone saying, but they're so good and amazing. They're not. They never have been. This isn't new. Twitter, I think their intentions are more honest than not. Sadly, Google doesn't have any dominancy in terms of social network mechanisms. I put more trust in them.
They had Google Plus, and the Circles thing was actually pretty good.
Yeah, but
then everyone left.
Else, right. Just no one stayed around because of the fact that there were just too many options that were bigger and already established. They had buzz.
Well, and then they threw it into YouTube, which got a lot of backlash because of that, because they forced it in there.
They're just sort of mixing too many technologies without any direction or thought. Yeah. Well, there's thought. There just isn't a lot of, well, we don't really know. I said, well, why don't you just try and do it and be done with it? And like, they knew they were going to go do RCS. So what did they do? They split it with Elo and Duo. And I'm like, but why did you do that? You're just splitting hairs on this. This is confusing. So
and
I
now
think
they're killing aloe.
Yeah, they're killing aloe and they're trying to do something grander, but the grander thing needs adoption of localized carriers who we all know are problematic and selfish.
Yep,
So
and they're not going to do it anyway.
yeah, so it's just a mess. But my point is, if I had a point, is that like social media networks and communities only work if the community works towards the goal of the idea towards it. Twitter is about an extension of ego. That's why celebrities attach. And you can fundamentally build a career out of that. You can. And people do. But that's the same problem with Instagram. Like, it makes no sense for Kraft Macaroni and Cheese to have an Instagram account. But Gary Vee will sell you that idea, and he'll find a productive way for them to make a profit out of taking pictures of mac and cheese and all Kraft products. And like, okay, but you really don't belong there. You don't belong in Snapchat either, but that's where everyone's attention is. Okay, but you don't belong there. It's for people. It's not for products, right? But that's how these companies make money and business, and they allow it in. They don't have to do anything for you as the user. You are the product that they're selling to, and they make money off of you. And this is the problem with MySpace. MySpace was a hard community. It was not a community. It was a place where it was a dump fire. And of course it failed, right? Facebook was a less better dump fire. It was a more stalker dump fire. And then everyone's parents wanted to stalk their kids who were stalking other people. And then it became a communal, family-oriented, no, I mean, slash that. It just became a dump fire. And Facebook took advantage of that and still is. And Twitter came along and they said, we got to go back and be simple. And they forced a bunch of simple rules on the subject of it. And that's what, I don't know if they're a dump fire. It's my version of Twitter. My Twitter experience is different than somebody who's addicted to it seeking drama. Right? Someone who's seeking drama is going to hear and find and reinforced by their bubble of drama. But if you are more balanced, looking for a very balanced thing, you're going to have a much better, pleasant experience over someone who has a negative one.
I think that the experience between Facebook and Twitter, the difference between them, I think there's a huge difference. If you look at Facebook, you have like only the thing you can see, right? You have to find other people before you can, and tries to push people onto you.
It pushes people on you,
but it doesn't show you what they do. It doesn't show you like I'm this person. No, they just show a face.
It forces relationships on people.
I don't care about that stuff.
Yeah,
but when I look at Twitter, at least you have the option to go into like the search and find something that you're interested in, right? Yeah. So if I look for 3D printing, I find a lot of new interesting people that I can follow, but even then there's like the official Twitter app is pretty bad with that. If you go to something like what was it, Tweetbot? I think I have Tweetbot on the iPhone, and that's pretty good. I can actually get some good experience with that thing.
Twitter is about the content conversation, and Facebook is about the people connection. And I mean, those are fundamentally, I think, the obvious differences.
Facebook hides a lot. Like, so if you post something and it's very interesting, like for example, one of the few creators I follow on Facebook is Cody from Cody's Lab. I see his post once in a blue moon. Mm-hmm. Like you probably post a lot more, but like 90% of it is hidden. Also, I don't go into the Facebook app that many times a day, like maybe once a week.
That's me. Once a week for a podcast, and then I'm out. Seriously. I get yelled at by relatives who are like, you didn't say happy birthday to me. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I said it all over Facebook. Oh, I go in once a week, but you're there all the time. No, I'm in once a week. I post stuff and I'm out.
Yeah. I think that Facebook is inflating their numbers. I think they're not actually that. I think they are faking a lot of it, and they are gating people's content too much. And that's the thing with Twitter. If something blows up on Twitter, you can see it blows up on Twitter because lots of people that retweet that thing, it will show up on your list.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the cool thing. That gives the discoverability. So if somebody is doing something cool and cool people are sharing the cool thing, you see it and you can actually find it again. And that they're going back to you can do the proper timeline again, like, so not the algorithmically messed up timeline as they tried to do, like Facebook did and all the other companies try to do every time. Their AI sucks. I mean, how bad can you be that something that is actually important doesn't show up on your feed? Come on.
I'm grinning because of two things. One, we're arguing in a world where we have social services like this that are internet based, that are international all across the world. So you only get to be part of the club if you have a device and you get on said social networks. And then you're specifically complaining about artificial intelligence, which in itself is still in its infancy, even though it's like 30, 40 years old. As a thing that has been in existence in the world, and it's really only taking like an active turn to being something that's used in a public world. So it's not only first world problems, it's like first internet world problems.
The problem is that they're trying to use something before it's ready.
Yeah, I get that.
Their whole system is
fools rush in.
They try to use their AI, air quotes, before they actually are able to distinguish things that you actually want to see.
Yeah.
Right. So if I'd had like a personal butler that did this for me, I'm interested in this, and this. Filter out the other crap, and maybe once in a while look at the other crap, see if there's anything interesting. If I had something like that, it would be great because I can just ingest the fire hose from Twitter and just take out what I want.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, it's just they try to hide stuff that they don't want to share anymore.
The only couple things, because we're just sort of on the negative trail. There were two topics that I wanted to throw out. The one thing that, and let me just say them, and wherever this goes. So DeviantArt, right? I'm curious about your perspective on the community and stuff for that. So hold the thought. The second thing is Twitter at least allowed integration, even though they allowed it only to a special few, with access to the full fire hose. And I know that has become problematic with Twitter and then a lot of shutdown. But that is also what I think was very healthy for Twitter's growth, was integration. Just like Netflix said, yeah, we'll put ourselves on just about every platform. Now, when they made that statement about themselves, there was only like half dozen things. Now there's like 4 dozen things. And so, yes, Netflix is not on 4 dozen things. They're on like 3 dozen things. But I think sort of embracing integration and sort of a little bit of active transparency has led a lot of productive standards, forced OAuth on the rest of the world. I think some good productive things have come out of Twitter as an existence as a company, despite its sort of content, its social network as a problem. I think there's been some healthy side benefits from them as a company. But my real question for you, outside those comments, is like DeviantArt. Like, how do you feel about that versus Tumblr? Because I have a friend who's is an animator artist, and they love Tumblr and they love DeviantArt. And for each of them, they have something there in 2 different places that works for them differently. And for them, there's communities there. They follow people, I guess, inorganically, by their own discovery. And, they kind of, I don't know. I never really understood DeviantArt, but I'm not an artist. This isn't my, not in the way that you kind of defined it in terms of drawing and painting it. That's not me. It's not what I do. That's not my skill set.
You have like a stick figure account, like drawing stick figures.
But me?
Yeah.
Do I? I don't even know. I might have created like a DeviantArt account a long time ago, but I never put anything up on there.
No. I think DeviantArt lacks like the whole social aspect.
Right. Okay. Community.
It doesn't have a community. It probably does.
That's comments.
It's so hidden. Like people can put comments on things, and that's about it. And then there's the giant fire hose, which is like the artist page, the new content page, which goes too fast with like lots of furry characters and lots of stick figures and lots of things. They have no filtering of like. Let's say I only want to see the people that actually spend like 10 years working on something on their skill, right? Let's say I want to filter out all the stick figures. There's no way to do that. Like they have no, like they've gone the complete opposite direction as like something like Twitter or like Facebook. But I can see that there's some benefit to that, but DeviantArt on its own, it's a place to post your stuff. And it's very limited as to what it allows. The same thing that Tumblr has at the moment, right? The thing that they had, they've dealt with that a couple of years back. So not a lot of the artists that I know are on that. They do post their stuff there, but like post like once in a year or something. And I think that the whole community aspect, I haven't noticed one. I do go there like once in a while.
Right, okay.
Like, and there's people that follow me and the people that post comments on my stuff. But then like there's like a couple. Like, okay.
Every once in a while when I'm looking for like a new ring meter plugin or something, I might find myself out in DeviantArt, which is the weirdest place for their gallery
to
definitely. Be, which I could never understand the context of that. But despite that, and that's the only driver, right, for me. If you're following an artist, I get it. It makes sense. Maybe it's just because it's very straightforward and simple in its goal. And
I think that a lot of people, when the Tumblr thing hit, were unsure because the Tumblr was their home base. They posted everything there. Their galleries, everything was there. And then with the change, a lot of people, they felt like they lost their home, like they lost their way to produce income. A lot of commission artists, they are like, I have nowhere else to go. And there's alternatives, like a lot of people moved to Newgrounds. Fur Affinity is apparently a thing that people go to. And I'm not trying to throw shade at furry people. I'm like, come on, this is one of the nicest groups of people I've ever found, basically. Like, they're very nice people, for the most part. Well, like, I've got all sorts of people there. But it's like, yeah, they're very accepting. Like, they're everybody's weird in their own way.
Well, like a self-policing community usually are general safe places. And I think that's a whole different subject on like communities.
Well, if people already are on an edge of society for like they have their own kinks and their own weird things, they're more accepting of other people. Right. I think that's what's happening. But people move there, but people don't see that they need like a place to actually post their stuff. Like their own home base. They need their own website, right? Yeah. As long as they have their own website, nobody can take that down unless your host doesn't agree with your stuff, of course.
The only kind of reinforcing problem with things like that is when you have a central place, you're getting something for free, but the value add there is that you have more likely you are likely to have some kind of audience, even if that's another random person in the world you've never met, than you are with your own site. Because I remember when everyone's like, oh, WordPress, blog, go to my blog, self-promote me, blog.
Yeah, but if you don't own the address, right? So I have several domains, too many actually, but there for my art stuff, I have a couple of domains, right? And I post those and put them in every image. And if you don't own your own domain, people don't know where to find you. So if you put your Tumblr address in all your images, nobody's going to find you anymore because the website's gone.
Right. I got that, and I understand that. That's what I was saying is when you are reinforcing back just on one sense of central focus as your center point. So we've been talking a lot about too many of these contexts here, but there is definitely when you get to these platforms, let's talk about it as a platform level, and despite its content and its attributes, I think each of these have contributed from a development and internet society pretty productively. But there is a difference between some people need simplicity and other people don't. Some people want to have control over their whole sort of internet narrative, and they turn themselves into brands, influencers, personalities, whatever. And they need, when you center focus all your whole brand back to one location, that's fine if that is your goal. But there's a value of participating in a social community, even if it's just called MySpace. However, those things are not very good at communalizing relationships. Facebook is, but it's a dumpster fire. And then you have Twitter, and they don't socialize connections as much as they socialize content connections. And sometimes people are just sort of pushing their own agendas. And that's the problem that I have with Mastodon. Now I'm on a small community, and so our connection to each other is that we're on a small community. And that's good. We can talk about local things, and we're all connected by really a common set of things locally. And so that's where Mastodon becomes a little bit of a value add when I, show up and say hello to people. And some of those people I do know personally in real life. And so there's a small little social conduit for me there. But collectively, Mastodon, as like you had said before, is like shouting into a void. Too many people are sort of like social justice warrior pushing their agendas on you. Hey, this is what I'm all about. I'm about these 3 things, and I'm just going to shout aggressive junk at you about these 3 things always. And that's sort of the toxicity that I hated about Mastodon. And so I don't necessarily suggest it for everyone. But if you can build a little pocket community server, which is the weird thing what people were doing with Mastodon, is they would build like an artist community Mastodon thing. But they are always shouting their 5 perspectives at you. This is my identity. This is my identity online, and I'm going to just toxically post my stuff about you, at you on Mastodon in this pocket community. And that's the only kind of negative thing I don't love about Mastodon. As a total network, it has its shortcomings, but the community is really the problem. It's not the platform itself.
The thing with Mastodon, like for example, the Mastodon.social, I think. Mm-hmm. Was it Mastodon? Yeah. Mastodon the Cloud. Place. Mastodon the Cloud got taken over by like a Japanese company, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, that's also a toxic place.
Oh, is it though? I think the small communities are okay. And it's like they have. I see mostly. I got an instance. On masto.host.
Okay.
And they're like for $7 a month you can get like your own instance. It's pretty good. You can have your own instance and have that like as your go-to place to shout from. Mm-hmm. But then getting that connected to the rest of the network. You need some sort of way of people following you from other places.
Sure, right.
There's no
yeah.
initial connection, so you don't automatically get connected to the rest of the network.
You don't immediately
you need to be noticed first.
Right. You're not going to become a brand influencer because you have big assets that you take pictures of through Mastodon. You're not going to make $65 million per campaign post. Mastodon's not for that. It's not for taking advantage of, things like that. If you're a marketer and you're trying to force your brand and product in there, Mastodon's not the place for it. It's not. And it doesn't reinforce that way, and its community is really not self-policing at all. And that's quite a bit of why there's so much sort of, depending on where you are, lots of sort of forced toxicity on you, because it's about the people doing it. It's not about the system doing it. In the case of, the other platforms, depending on what they pivot on, Facebook pivots on the quantity of people, not about the quantity of what's being posted. And because of that, everyone, plus their grandmothers, plus their cousins, plus people you went to high school with or college with, or that kid that you had a crush on when you were 4 years old, are all on Facebook. And they care about the quantity because they make money off the quantity. They don't care about the content. And they force campaigns on people, right? We're all lab rats, right? Well, on Facebook.
Facebook's lab.
And in the case of Twitter, they don't take much responsibility of the people, though they are making some effort now. They take more responsibility about looking at what you're saying and providing information on that. And as a result, it's noisy all the time. But the advantage is you can procure your bubble. You can make a pretty good bubble for yourself.
I like Twitter more recently than I've had in the past.
Sure.
I see more of the benefits, and of course a lot of the artists that I follow started using Twitter, so
right.
That has gotten some conversations going. I want to do one other thing, talk about PeerTube.
What is that?
PeerTube is like Mastodon, but for video. It's like a YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
It uses torrents to share all the video, WebRTC.
Okay.
So it uses that to share the video, and then share also a little bit of the bandwidth. So if you have like a good pipe, you can do the bandwidth sharing thing. It's actually pretty interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. It could be interesting in some time, at some point, setting up an instance somewhere, trying to experiment a little bit with it.
Yeah, no, I hadn't heard of it. Again, Seismic was really neat for me when it was based on video, and it's for sort of a much closer, much smaller community that was sort of self-policing.
The cool thing about Seismic was that you had conversations. You had responses to people, and people could see those responses.
Yep.
And that's the thing with Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
If you retweet something, you can see it. But if somebody @s you, you cannot see it. At somebody else,
right?
You don't really immediately see it unless they respond
right.
again.
Or unless you stalk
They've been getting
an
better at
individual.
that, right? So they've been getting better at that. But
on
Mastodon, it's nowhere to be found.
Right.
I cannot see any of that stuff.
With Seismic, there was because most people are camera shy even back then in 2008. They're way less with all their selfie.
I think I posted like 2 videos. I said hello and then a response to somebody.
But most people didn't want to like put their face on camera. They didn't want to, they want to anonymously chat, but they didn't want to actually put their real face on it. So the level of intimacy to sort of the barrier for entry was more about people not embracing it versus, whether the platform was good. I mean, if it still existed as it existed, it wouldn't have been a replacement for Snapchat or Instagram, but it's almost similar, except that those things are still based on hub and spoke models, which is ironic because Snapchat was about people talking to people, and then people promoted themselves on the platform, and then it became hub and spoke by that relationship, not because that's the way the platform works. It's the way people worked. So Seismic was about a level of intimacy, and that's the only what made it fail, and also what made it work, right? And we really did have a sense of knowing each other, and when we met each other in real life, it was like, hey man, nice to shake your hand. But that was it. We already knew each other pretty well. We already had a sense of who we were, and we had a real connection. Vlogheads was another one. That was another one that was sort of out there. I don't know what.
Well, right now there's other apps, right? So there's Meet.
View Now.
I think there's like a Meet Me, something like that.
There's all kinds of like side things. There was Kick. There was Quick. There was all kinds of little things that were happening back then that have sort of been consumed and failed and rehashed.
But they're real time. So there's stuff that's real time.
Yes, no. Some of them are all similar to Seismic in the way that they were threaded in sort of video posts. Some of them are live. You have a lot of your Periscopes, your View Now or Vid Now or something like that. There's a bunch of those where Vine people went, or combined with, again, you still have your Periscopes. You have your hub and spoke. Look at me, I'm amazing, now pay attention to me, and show an average high number so that I can use this to make some money.
I think that the TikTok thing where they do like the different, like somebody posts something and then somebody responds to it, but like in the same vein, like two sides of it. And I haven't really looked into TikTok. I don't really know what I'm talking about, but I think that's a fun way to do it. But I think there is a place. What?
I'm not sure that I'm familiar with TikTok. Maybe I've heard of it in the past, and I looked at it and go, "Yeah, it's not for me."
Think of it like Seismic. What was it? What was the thing? Seismic, right?
Yeah, Seismic. Yeah.
So
Seismic 10/1.5.
Yeah. Okay.
Not its Twitter.
Think about it like that. Somebody posts a video and somebody posts a response, but they take part of the original video. So there's like, somebody posts something and then somebody posts a reply, but it's the same video.
Got it. So what is PeerTube? It's just like what?
Oh, okay. Back to PeerTube. So think about it as YouTube. It's like your personal YouTube instance.
Okay. Isn't my
it's
YouTube
like Mastodon, but like
my own personal YouTube instance?
Yeah. No, that's not like YouTube, right?
Okay.
It's just for web video, and it's a good way to share a little bit of that load.
Oh. Okay.
So I thought it was interesting to mention. The thing that I still have left on the list, the rewind thing that happened, the most downvoted video ever.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest example of the disconnect between the social media companies and the social media users.
The content makers and the consumers, right? The companies are focused on the people who consume content, not the people who create the content, which is ironic because the people who create the content gives them relevancy to the people who consume the content.
Well, I think that there's a difference between the people that run YouTube and decided to make the video this way and have them give them instructions on how to make the video, what to make the video about. And then there's everybody else. Like, I think there's a disconnect between those two. Because there it really shows that YouTube's intention is something different. I think Marques Brownlee did a very good video about that.
I was going to say that.
We should have linked that one. But you see the same thing happening in other places. Same thing goes with Facebook. Somebody at some point they decided to think that poking sheep was a good idea, right? Putting those types of games on there, great. Not Twitter. They decided to go and do a non-linear timeline, right? They wanted to put stuff all over the place. The disconnect between the users and the users and the companies, and I think that keeps happening for some reason. They don't look at what people want.
Where they make their actual money, they listen to the wrong people. The reality is, like I said, so I think of one of the Google Talks where I watched the video. There was this opening video with Lady Gaga. This was like between her first and her second album. I think the second album just came out. And they did this, I don't know, it was like a few minute video of the rise and impact of Lady Gaga through Google data. And it really kind of showed highlights of her impact and sort of that rise. And then then you get to spend an hour, talking where they interview and they talk with her. Okay, so that video, that sort of rise and fall, right? YouTube Rewind, the 2012 video, nailed it. Nailed what YouTube was about that year and the major impacts. Boom. And then 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, better production, but like it wasn't really about the players of YouTube. Now, with that said, players now means 2,000 million channels, not the 100 million, YouTube creators that are just spewing out junk or nothing of any value or having any impact on anybody. And that is a different argument about discovery issues, or how to become big or how to whatever. But the point is, yeah, there's lots of controversial crap that happened in 2017 and 2018 on YouTube, but they were highlights, good or bad. These were things that were the
everything
fundamental
that happened, right? And if you're doing YouTube, a rewind instead of a cringe fest,
instead of an ad fest, right? And so you're right. MKBHD did a really good job of putting his perspective on it, and I agree fundamentally about that. YouTube is thinking about itself as a business, and they spent money to reinforce their business interests instead of their of how they even have the ability to have business, right? It's about the creators. Rewind should be about the creators, not. And I also agree with everybody that has said, even I think even Casey had said, they should have made an ad version, and not made it so public, and then made a version that it was the real YouTube Rewind, like YouTube Rewind, and then the marketing ad edition, right? The YouTube Google Rewind, I don't know, whatever. Analytic Rewind, I don't know. But that should have been the version for other people, and that shouldn't have been the version for us as a community, even for the consumer
community. That's the thing. People are trying to, like, I think the whole advertiser-friendly thing, that was a big mistake on their part. Mm-hmm. And I understand why it happened, right? I totally understand. Yeah. But if they're trying to pretend like certain people aren't there anymore, like certain people don't exist, like that's not the real world. There's people that are annoying. They're still a big part of the community. You need certain people, right? You need the grumpy person that talks about law and things and needs to inform you about that kind of stuff, right?
Sadly, you need the controversial people, even though the reason they got there is because they're seeking it and the bubble's reinforcing them. They're relevant. They could be a relevant blip in a 3-second cameo. They don't have to be a 30-second cameo in a 6-minute video.
I think
so.
I think sometimes these companies, they decide that something doesn't exist anymore and they try to make it go away. Yeah. And people just don't work that way. People remember like the PewDiePies and stuff, right?
Yeah, good and bad.
Yeah. But then again, if you have somebody like what was his face? I might bleep his name, but the what's the name of that guy?
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
I totally understand because he's doing actual damage, right?
But that's how he makes millions.
I understand. Yeah. But I understand why he was thrown off, right? Yeah. I am totally not interested in that guy.
And I wouldn't
I wouldn't put him in Rewind at all.
I would not put him in Rewind. No, not to mention the fact that to include him in the production, he would just cause problems for them, right? He wouldn't allow them to be create anything.
Yeah, but if you look at the difference in levels, right? So if you look at, on one hand, people are being thrown out that had a controversial moment, right? Like, for example, PewDiePie, and then there's people who are constantly making a mess, right? And there's a huge difference. Like, I would totally understand if they didn't put that guy in there.
And I would have never reinforced any of the, in 2016, 17, probably even 15, prank channel people. Like, because they were creating damage, they weren't doing anything of any productive value. And, the Pauls weren't either.
Oh, God damn it.
Right? Even though they have some relevancy. And they handled it for like a moment, in 2016 or 17 video or something like that. But regardless, the point is the 2012 video, I thought was handled really well. It was just very focused on certain creators, because and so what you do is don't, do rewind in that similar format where it's a well integrated thing, right? But the key part of that is that you don't repeat. Look, I like Rhett and Link, but don't put them back in. Justine, adore her, but she doesn't need to be in every single freaking rewind.
But she wasn't in this one, right?
I'm pretty sure she was. I'm pretty sure. I only watched the video once. So, that's not true. I've watched it when everyone else is responding to it. So I've seen the, rewind video, a few times, but, I only watched it, straight as is once, but I'm pretty sure she's in it. I don't know. Maybe she's not in it this year. Maybe this is the first time she's not in it. She's not in the 2011 one, but I was curious. I was like, how do I feel about this? And I went back and I watched all the rewinds. Like, I did that. Not because I had some initiative to argue about it and put commentary on it. And I saw I played the game of how many people do I recognize here? And there was a ton of artists, YouTubers, that were clearly not really relevant to YouTube community, just relevant in terms of YouTube view subscription numbers, whatever the qualification was for each of those years. Of who was YouTube famous, not productive contributors, YouTube famous in terms of the accountant style numbers, then that would mean it would be mostly Spanish and beauty bloggers, right? And that's what 2018 would look like with Will Smith and Ninja. But Ninja's not a component that is relevant to YouTube. He's just relevant in terms of Twitch. There's the irony there. Right? He's not YouTube famous. He's Twitch famous. But he's in a YouTube
It's kind of weird that he was
video.
on there even. It was kind of weird he was even on there.
Right. Again, it was because of the whole Fortnite thing. So
is Will Smith, so.
Right. Well, yes and no. He's at least making some kind of effort. There's money being spent, whether YouTube is...
I think maybe they should make a difference between the people that are actually... like creators and then the big the big companies.
Right.
There should be a difference between these
talk shows and stuff like that. But
yeah, John Oliver shouldn't have been there. Neither should Trevor Noah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Even though they have high positive impact on YouTube, that they shouldn't have been included whatsoever. So, because it wasn't really about. It's sort of like podcasters, right? There are people who are actual creators, people who are actual podcasters, and then there's celebs using it as a promotional profit mechanism tool. And then on top of that, then there is professional industry doing the same. Now, with that said, that has brought us a lot of awesome NPR podcasts.
Yeah.
But in the same respect, when you're just rebroadcasting in the podcast format, you aren't really doing a podcast. You're just rebroadcasting in a podcast format. But they call it a podcast because it's not uniquely different for that platform. And so that's the same kind of argument I make towards these YouTube things. So anyhow,
one other link before we move on to the fun stuff. The Verge had a good article about the Tumblr situation. So Polymatic.link/OT for that one.
Okay.
If you want to read more about the drama that's going to happen tomorrow. Well, it's going to happen on Monday, but, we're recording on Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay, enough. I'm already angry enough about this stuff.
Yeah.
Let's share some fun stuff.
Okay. Hype train. Woohoo! Polymatic.link/OR.
And then related to that, Polymatic.link/OU. Glove and Boots are back. Woohoo!
Yes.
They posted their first video. They're going back to kid-friendly stuff.
So I didn't discover them. You discovered them. Then you shared it with me, and that was how my discovery path was. And then I spread the love. And so I have other friends who discovered Glove and Boots because of that tangential relationship. And so, yeah. And so, I mean,
their back catalog is pretty funny. There's so much good stuff on their channel.
Oh yeah.
If you like two Muppets doing really stupid stuff, you'll love this show.
First thing, Mario is lovable.
the egg rolly thing. That's their best video ever. They do like product tests. They had the egg rolly. And they make the most nastiest egg ever.
The potato thing. I'm glad they're back. It's been a couple years of us like.
I don't know if they're gonna do anything good though.
We don't know. Look, I can't say that all of their vlogs were fantastic, but there's a lot of high-centric of awesomeness in there. So
as long as they keep like the same thing with like the Simpsons, right? If you have the Simpsons, you can watch it if you're a kid, but you can also watch it as an adult, right?
Yeah.
So the Homer is the hero of the adult version, and Bart is the hero of the kids version.
Yeah.
And I think they should probably do the same wink as they do over there. Anyway, next one, Virgin Galactic to the edge of space. Yay, more space stuff. Polymatic.link/OQ.
Interesting.
Have you seen it?
I didn't watch it yet, no.
Oh, so they had the night something or other. They have like the spaceship thing they launch off a plane.
Okay.
And they launch it into space. So instead of using a rocket, they use a plane.
Right,
basically.
to get it to high altitude.
Yeah, I don't know if they actually got into space, but that's probably debatable. I actually haven't looked further than seeing this video. Well, the actual guy doing stuff with space is Elon Musk, so we'll see. We'll see if they eventually make like a gliding thing or something.
Yeah. Blue Origin is sort of participating somehow, but I don't really know. Not nearly to the degree actively where Elon Musk is, right? And SpaceX is. Really, I mean, it has to really credit the company and less about Elon Musk. He's a participant. He's part of its some of its strength, but
he's part of the drive behind it, right?
Yeah.
I think that the drive behind something like that is pretty important.
Yeah.
So I hope that there's that dinky little space launch thing in New Zealand, I think, that's been getting into trouble. I heard Adam Savage talk about him.
Oh, that guy. Yeah, did we share a video? I watched a video on this guy in the past. I thought I might have shared a video about him.
Yeah, he launches from New Zealand and he got into trouble. Yeah, he was the guy that launched the Blinky satellite, like the giant space disco ball that was reflecting and causing lots of trouble with astronomers. They couldn't watch stuff because there was a giant blinking disco ball in the sky. Anyway, Polymatic.link/OQ.
Okay.
Then we got some music.
I do. I have one artist that I saw recently, and I thought I'd share it. I kind of like the song. The song's called Tragic. It's by Jillian Jacqueline, Polymatic.link/OS.
It's a very, very Alan type music.
Yeah, it is. I know it. Look, I share these things not for you specifically, John. Our whopping 20 to 60 listeners.
Speaking of listeners, I've been listening to Reamd by Neil Stephenson. He has it's a pretty old book by now, but it's about a MMO style thing.
Oh, okay.
An owner of the MMO style thing so far. It's pretty good. I like it. Polymatic.ov. I'm not that far into it. So far it's pretty good. I don't know what the end result of this is, but he's also the guy that wrote Seven Eves and Rise and Fall of Dodo. So it's probably going to be good. So yeah, I guess that's it for today.
Isn't that enough?
So on which social media can they find you?
I'm going to just go with Twitter. My last name, Chaess. You can find me there. I go on Mastodon every once in a while, but it's not so much about like communicating with the public as it is sort of communicating with the local group there on Mastodon. So if you want to get a hold of me, Twitter.
Okay. You can find me on Twitter as well. WEBDEVVIE for WebDevy. For feedback, you can reach us at podcast@Polymatic.media, and I should really look at the mailbox once in a while. Our Twitter is @ThePolymatic. Our website is Polymatic.media, and I hope you tune in next time.